Let's go ahead and start. Put the phones away. Otherwise, I'm taking them. Better tell Adam. You can't hear. Because he put his hood up again. Put the phone away. Otherwise, you got Colby back there thinking he can text his girlfriend during my class. And I'm sick of it. Make sure, Colby. Questions on page 137? None. We covered enough of it last time that everybody understands it. What we're going to cover today, group insurance. Lots of different ways or lots of different things that could go into group insurance. What we're going to cover at this point is just real basic stuff. All right, so it's not something, don't go home and tell your parents, oh, I learned all about group insurance, because, yeah, you're not learning all about group insurance today. It's just real basic things. Later on in the year, we'll learn more about, more in detail of all the different kinds of insurances and stuff. One key thing when you're looking for a job, if you do well enough that you can choose what job you get and not just work at KFC or somewhere, if you do well enough that you can choose, one thing that you need to make sure, quit skipping my class. Caleb, you're in the second block?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
No, so I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I was listening. I should have been listening to you and not listening to all these other.
I know, Quentin Wackler's such a bad
Quentin
guy.
lying to me and screwing everything all up. These people do anything
What do you mean, like bad or?
actually work.
Oh, yeah. We'll sit there and work and then we'll start talking and then we'll be back on track. Yeah. We'll take like a 5-minute break.
Because there's a couple of them here that almost.
What, you talking about Tyrant? Or is that not today?
No, that's not. I don't see it on here.
And that was
I think
yesterday.
that's last one today.
Who?
So I don't think Ryan's in there for very long. I think he only has it for like one period of the day or so.
I don't mind Ryan. Where's the typo? That should say paid. Yeah, sorry. That should say paid there. My fault. Actually, it's not my fault. I didn't type that.
I was getting ready to say
You
that.
probably tell that I stole it from somebody else.
I was like, I don't think he's too technologically advanced to make something green.
Nope, I stole it from them and just pasted it on here.
Who's the?
So
People
teachers
that made the book and stuff.
You didn't cite the book though.
Yeah, I need to. Don't tell me Smart on me, right? Receipt from,
Gotta give you half.
I don't even know who this is. I think it's probably McGraw Hill. Now I cited them, so now I can't get in trouble.
I just use plagiarism fixer.
Use what?
Plagiarism fixer, I just copy and paste stuff and then I pop it in there and it changes like 2 words in it. It doesn't pop shit.
The only bad thing with that is, doesn't always work because I was taking a class at I was taking it online at UD or somewhere,
Harvard.
and my professor had to write something, and they shipped it back to me saying, you plagiarized this. I'm saying, from where? From the book. I said, well, I hate to tell you this, but I didn't even read the book. I was supposed to, but I didn't, because I hate reading.
Yes.
So I didn't even read the book. I don't know how in the world I could have plagiarized it. Well, it came up, and they said it come up like 70% from the book or
70% is
something.
not enough.
I feel like you kinda have to do 70% to be right about your statement.
Exactly.
They-
No, just take a thesaurus
that's-
and change every word individually.
See, and that's what I said. I said, you know, I know what this stuff is, so I just answered your questions as I was writing this paper. Well, it says that you answered it exactly the same. I said, from where? Tell me where so I can look it up.
70%.
I don't know how you change something so much that it's not at least that percentage.
Yeah, 70% is about average.
But then they changed it. That professor, I think, had one of those things where they just feed the paper through some system and it tells them whether it's plagiarized or not. And so she went back and changed it. Oh, all right. Why would number one, I hate your class. I'm not gonna just copy and paste stuff in here because I don't even read this stuff. All right, group insurance. Group insurance is health insurance offered by a business to its employees, paid in part by the business and in part by the employee. What's the Health Care Act called? What was it called? Don't call it Obamacare because that's not what it was called. Something, it had an actual name. Some Health Care Act, Affordable Health Care Act, that's what it was, wasn't it? When the Affordable Health Care Act went in, it's a good thing in some ways. See, I'm not your mommy and daddy or anybody else, because I'm not gonna tell Ben how he has to think politically, all right? That's up to you guys to make that decision. I dislike very much these freshmen and sophomores that I have coming in here talking about how they hate Biden and Trump was so much better, and you know good and well that they don't have a clue what they're talking about. They just hear it from their mommy and daddy. That's not you guys, right? You guys make your own decisions? Good.
Well, that's some people, but not most.
So,
Not most.
with the Affordable Health Care Act, some of it was not good. And one of the things that was not good was this, with the businesses paying for health insurance. Because once people started having to join the Affordable Health Care Act, businesses thought that they could just dump all their health care. So now if I get a job, I'm paying for all my health care on that act, and the businesses aren't paying any of it. Right? Now it was cheaper, but it ended up not being cheaper in the long run, because now the company that I work for is not paying for any of it, whereas normally they pay for half or whatever. Now I'm paying for all of it. So I might have been paying $300 a month beforehand, then my business dropped it, and my total insurance at that point would have been $600 for the half that my business paid and the half that I pay. They dropped it, and I went to the Affordable Health Care Act, which was cheaper. My insurance was only $400, but now I'm paying $400 instead of the $300. And a lot of businesses did that, especially a lot of factories. You might talk to your parents about it. When that went into play, a lot of people threw a fit because all of a sudden their factory job or something was paying At the start, they were paying like 70% of their health care, and they said, oh, with this new plan, we're gonna drop it down and we're only gonna pay like 20%, because that's what it told them that they could do. So you gotta, there was good things about it. I mean, it's a good idea to all have, try to make it so everybody has health care, but
Canada.
that might not be the best way, and,
Maybe we should put more restrictions on what a business can.
yeah, maybe.
But that's got its own issues.
Right, because you start telling a business what they can and can't do, and then all of a sudden, they're not a business in the United States anymore, they're somewhere else. And we don't want that, because then you lose jobs and everything. So you gotta,
Nothing can ever be 100% good.
that's true. And that's, Lane just said Canada, with their healthcare, you hear some great things about Canada's healthcare, and then you hear horror stories about people couldn't get anything accomplished. So, I don't know, I've never lived in Canada, so I don't know if it's good or not. I think here at school, this is one of the things our teachers union has fought on over the last several years, is trying to keep the health insurance the way it is. I think the school pays 70%. And if you have Mr. Ferguson, any of you that have Mr. Ferguson, you might ask him, he'd know for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the school pays 70% and I pay 30%. So if I was to pay, let's say that $300, if I paid $300 a month, it's actually more than that now, probably about double that. How much is the school paying per month? $700. So how much is my insurance per month? $1,000. And like I said, I think it's about double that actually. It's not quite double, but it's awful close. So if we double that, what is that? $2,000 per month. How many months in a year? It's 2,000 times 12. $24,000, or somewhere real close to that,
Imagine if you save on that.
just goes to my health care. That's not every other teacher's health care, just mine. So think about it. I don't know, what is there, 15 teachers here in the school or so, or in the high school? I don't know how many are. I know there's like 70, about 70 some overall, all right? So if every teacher has that, let's say there's 70. Somebody help me out with the calculator. What's 24,000 times 70?
1,680,000.
So how much money is that insurance company making off of just National Trail?
1,680,000.
$1.5 million, just off of National Trail per year. So health insurance, very, very expensive. Something you gotta have though. When you're looking at a job, if you can find a job anymore that does something like this, like I said, when that Affordable Health Care Act went into place, a lot of factories and a lot of jobs dropped it down to either 50% that they paid or even lower. So if you can find a job that pays 70%, 80%, or if you get real lucky and you really have your choice of jobs and you can find a job that pays 100% of your health care, all your benefits for it, that's great. All right? So that's one of the things, when you're getting a job, Alex goes in and there's 75 different companies looking to hire Alex. That should be one of the things that he looks at. Don't just look at, oh man, this company's gonna pay me $10,000 extra a year. Because if they don't pay any of your health care,
That $10,000 extra is going straight to your company.
you're losing extra money there. So make sure, when you look at that, make sure that the health care and the benefits are good. Retirement, that kind of stuff, you gotta look into that. Couple of formulas here, not real difficult formulas. red one laying up there on my desk. I just had to make sure it was still up. Still up. So the employee or your share of your health care, they'll tell you the entire health care, how much the entire thing costs, like $24,000 per year, and you just take it times the percentage. The employee, that's usually deducted each pay. Again, I think we talked a little bit about this last time. Here, they don't deduct my insurance each pay. They do it once a month. So I get paid twice a month. One of those, when I get paid twice a month, let's say I make $1,000 the first pay, that doesn't mean I make $1,000 the second pay. Right? Whichever one they take the insurance out of each month is usually a little less than the other one because that's a big chunk to take out. Some other things with insurance while we're writing this down, a couple years ago, I changed to an HSA. Anybody know what an HSA is? An HSA is a health savings account. A lot of places are trying to change to that. If you hear these things on the radio and stuff advertising, join us, that's what they are. They're like a savings account where you put your money in there and you just sort of save it up so that you have it to pay for stuff.
Pardon me, teachers, for the interruption. Our last bus has just arrived. If you'll wait just a few minutes, let these students get to class, and then take attendance, please. Thank you.
I thought she's, I swear she said.
Let's just arrive at 8.
So, at HSA, that's what I'm in right now, and I'm thinking about getting my butt out of it because it's a pain in the butt. It's a good thing if you're healthy, don't go to the doctor a lot, anything, because what happened here at school, or what goes on here at school is every year or every pay, I put money into this savings account, and it's my money. It's always going to be my money until I use it to pay for some kind of medical bill. The school also puts money into that savings account, and that money is also my money unless I spend it on some kind of doctor bill. So I'm saving up this money. And right now, I probably have, I don't know, $8,000-$10,000 in this savings account. And we just started a couple years ago. So, you know, if I was 20 years younger, this would have been a good thing.
But now that you're old and you go to school,
Now that I'm old and I'm a little more sickly, and I actually go to the doctor now, it's not such a good thing.
so you should get into it as early as possible.
Right. So it would make more sense for the younger teachers here maybe to be in it because they probably don't go to the doctor as much as old Ebersole has to. Deduction per pay, all you're going to do, once you find this, or once you have your total amount, then you just divide it by how many pays per period. We might want to write down here again. We've done this before a couple of times, but you might want to jot it down again. Let's start off with the highest one this time. Annual. How many pays per year if you get paid annually? Most people don't have this, so it's not that big a deal that you don't know it. If you get paid annually, one. How many pays per year if you get paid semi-annually? And I'm probably spelling stuff wrong here, but 2 pays. Now the ones that we really use, what if you get paid weekly? How many pays?
5
Per year.
per year. Oh, geez.
52 pays. One of the Holloways had this written down on their test, so they ought to remember this, right? 52 pays per year is if it's weekly. What if it's bi-weekly? So if you get paid every 2 weeks, how many pays per year?
26.
26 pays per year. What if you get paid monthly? 12 pays per year. And then the one that I said that they pay me is semi-monthly, which means you get paid twice a month. How many pays is that in a year? 24 pays. I know you guys remember all those, right? The ones that matter the most: monthly, semi-monthly, bi-weekly. Those four right there are the four normal ones. We could also do like quarterly. You got paid quarterly, how many times a year? The name tells you. 4. That's the assignment. Get your books out. We're going to do a few problems. I'm probably going to work till, what do you think, Ben? 20 minutes? And then I'm going to take a break. So we'll work till about 8:30. So the quicker you get your book out, better for you, the more we get done. Jade Lynn, these videos gonna be too long when I send them to you next week?
Yeah.
Shut up, Lynn. Usually, the stuff that we do in here, the lesson actually lasts about 10, 15 minutes. Not that long. Page 139, again, next week. When you walk in here on Tuesday, you're gonna turn that in, up here. Then watch the video and do the assignments. I'll send an email out.
You're not gonna be here.
Trip.
I left my house at
So he's on the whole. Oh, yeah, we were saying.
They have something?
Yeah, you know, how you do. Yes, sir.
Probably did. You fell asleep last class when I invited you.
I wasn't asleep.
All right.
So he wanted me to call myself. Do it to me.
139, are we ready? Find the deduction per pay period. Check your answers in the back of the book. We don't need to check the answers in the back of the book because you got me. Annual cost of insurance is $6,570.
Doesn't boost my comfort.
Let me read those.
The employer pays 70%.
Employer pays 70%. I wish that my insurance, this shows how old this book is, because I wish my insurance only cost about $6,500 per year. Those were the days. I've got raises here at Trail for like the last 5 years straight, which usually doesn't happen in teaching, but we got our normal 2.5%, 3% cost of living raise. A lot of times we get frozen. Teachers get frozen throughout the year because there's no tax money there. But we've got our normal raises. I'm not making any more now than I did 7 years ago, as far as take-home pay goes. And most of it is because the insurance has risen so much. It's all going right to there. The employer pays 70% and you have 12 pay periods. Find the deduction. So we want to figure out how much we pay. Sorry, I had to read it twice. If the employer pays 70%, what do we pay? 30%. And we're going to take that 30% and we're going to times it by, what was it, 6,570? How do I do to the 30% before I can multiply?
Move the decimal to the over.
So what is it? 0.30. Do we really need the O on the end?
No.
No.
not when it's a percent. All right, so you could just do that. Please don't do that with money or other things though, but this time, somebody multiply that for us.
It's 6570.3.
657. Boy, that don't sound right. 6,000. So what'd they do, Colby?
1971.
Yeah, added it.
They hit add instead of multiply, didn't they? What was it?
1971.
Even?
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is how much you pay, or I pay, or whoever the employee pays. They didn't ask us to find that. They said how much is going to be deducted from each check. What do we have to do to find that?
Divided by 130.
How many pays do we have?
12.
12. So we're paying out $1,971 to insurance. Well, again, that would be nice. That's about what I pay in 2 months, not for a whole year.
We'll divide that by 12, right?
Divide that by
164.25.
12 to see how much you pay per pay. $164.25. Could we figure out how much the employer pays? We know we pay 30%, they pay 70%. 70% is about what in relationship to 30%? Give me something to round it off. You guys gotta start being able to do this in your head, just thinking things through, just sensibly, not have to figure it up all mathematically like this, because you're not gonna do this every time. If I ask Ben to do this every single time for every check or everything that he gets for the rest of his life, it's never gonna happen. So, but if you do things just in a roundabout way, then you'll do them. 30% is about what in relationship to 70%? 70% is about double. So they pay about double what we pay, right? Well, what's double 164? About how much?
2, 3.
300 and some dollars. So they pay $350, somewhere in between there, and we pay $160. I'm getting ready to throw something at Noah because he's trying to be exact again. And what did I just say?
You don't have to get it.
If you're going to be exact on something like that, when we're just thinking this through, are you ever going to do it? No, you're going to look at it. Nah, I don't have a calculator. I don't feel like doing it. Right? So you got to be able to think things through when you get your check. Say, okay, how much should I have brought home this week? If I gross this much, you got to be able to sort of have some idea in your head how to do that stuff. Number 2, annual cost of insurance is $12,000. Your employer pays 80%, and you have 52 pays. What are we going to do with that $12,000? Times it by what? How much we pay?
80%. Oh, 30.
We pay,
30.
if they pay 80, we pay 20. So what do I multiply this by? Just 0.2, 0.20. Do that. Let's stop. Put your calculator down. Stop. If I was saying it was 10%,
So you don't put the 0 at the end?
10%, you just take off 1 0, right? So it'd be $1,200. But we don't want 10%. We want what? 20%. Well, if 10% is $1,200, 20% should be what? Double that, which is $2,400. I bet if you multiply it on your calculator now, I bet you get $2,400. Is that what you were going to say, Nathan? Did you do it in your head?
I was going to say it, but you stopped me.
You looked at Elijah's calculator. So $2,400. That's what we pay. Now, I'm sorry, that's not our answer though. That's what we pay for the whole year. They said we get paid how many times in that year? For number 2. 52, so what are we gonna do with the 2,400? Divide it by 52. What is it? What is it? 46? Is that what you said? 50? 15. I'm gonna rewrite that. $46.15.
I had to make a bunch of threes.
Again, this makes me mad every time I do one of these problems because,
Can't do it.
no. Because I look at this and I remember the days when that's about how much was taken out of my check for medical insurance. 8 to 10 years ago. And now, it's like this. Taking out that much more. So you guys think I'm messing with you. You get out and you get a job. Find something, some job that's going to pay a lot of the medical insurance. That's gonna make a whole big difference. Even if, but I'm making $12 at this place and I'm only making $11.50 at the other place. I gotta take the $12. You better check on that other stuff. All right? Number 3. Yay, I get to read.
Lars Olson authorized a deduction of $163.75 from his monthly pay for group health insurance. His employer pays 45% of the cost. What is his annual premium amount for his group health insurance?
So, the employer pays 45%. What's he pay? The employer pays 45, what's Lars pay? Close. What do we do to figure out what percentage he pays? What do you do to figure out if they pay 45%? How do you figure out what you have to pay? What percentage? Take it away from what? 100. What's 100% minus 45%? What is it? 55. So Lars pays 55%. Well, the bad thing is, they didn't tell us what it is. They just told us
His deduction.
what the deduction is. So we gotta work this like backwards. Before, we got this answer by dividing, right? And then multiplying. So what we're gonna have to do here is take 0.55 times, do we know how much he pays per, do we know the total amount that he pays? No. So let's, trying to think of the best way to tell you how to do this to make it easy on you. So before we took the total paid times the percentage, and that gave us how much you pay, right? Ignore those stray marks. Then once we knew how much you pay, that was per year, we divided it by the number of pays in that year. And that gave us money per pay. So this time, what did they tell us? What of all that stuff did they tell us?
Money per pay, I don't know what to do with it.
They told us the money per pay, right? So they told us this down here. So we gotta work this backwards. If he's got that much per pay, did they tell us how many pays? Monthly? So if it's monthly, what's that telling us? How many times per year if it's monthly? 12. So we got this number, each pay, they're taking out $163.75. How are we gonna figure out how much they're taking out for a full year? Times it by 12. Very good, somebody help me out and do that. So all we're doing is taking this and we're working backwards.
$1,965.
Even?
Yeah.
So per year, he's paying $1,965 because he's making 12 monthly payments. Now, if we go back up here, that goes here, so 1965 goes there. Do we know the total that's being paid for his health insurance? The overall total bill. That's what we're trying to find, isn't it? So we're gonna make that, I don't know, let's just make it T, stand for total. Times, what's the percentage? What percentage does he pay?
45.
Be careful.
55.
55. What do you gotta do to that before we can stick it and do any math with it?
Number twice.
So what's it gonna be? 0.55? How do we get T by itself here? You're multiplying a variable by something, how do you get that number by itself?
Divided.
Divide. So we're gonna divide both sides by what? 0.55. What's gonna happen when you divide 1965 by 0.55? What happens to the number? It goes, usually when you divide, the number gets smaller, right? But when you divide by something less than 1, the number gets bigger. Somebody help me out. What's 1965 divided by 0.55? $3,572 point what? That's how much total his insurance is. Not just what he pays, not just what his employer pays. That's the total bill for a year. How much does he pay per year? 1965. Does he pay more or does the employer pay more?
Wait. Oh, and,
He pays more this time, right? And again, when I talked about the Affordable Care Act, this is what happened. Because a lot of employers always paid 50% or higher. And then when that came into effect, they started dropping their percentage down and raising the employees' percentage up. Because for some reason, I don't know, I haven't read the whole act. I'm sure Ben has, there's only like 20,000 pages or something in the Affordable Care Act, so Ben, you probably read it all, right? Yeah. Figured you had. Number 4. Rhonda Martin has $215.25 deducted from her semi-monthly pay. If it's semi-monthly, how many pays per year? 24. 24 pays. Because it's semi-monthly, right? Let's see, where did I leave off at here? Semi-monthly pay for group health insurance. Rocky Mountain Auto Parts, her employer pays 60% of the cost. What is the annual premium amount for Rhonda's group health insurance?
vacation pays 40%.
So she pays 40%. This is number 4, right?
Yeah.
She pays 40%. We're going to do the same thing that we just got done doing. We're going to have to take that number that they gave us, it's per pay, 215, what was it? 215.25. And we're gonna times that by how many pays? If it's semi-monthly, how many pays?
12.
That's how I get paid. Monthly is 12,
Oh, 24.
24, that means twice a month, right?
Yeah.
So times that by 24. We're just doing all this stuff, but doing it backwards. All right?
Guess we're done.
500, 5,166.
Say it one more time.
5,166.
What's 5,166? You can plug these numbers in all the time, but if Noah's over there and he's staring off into space in La La Land, and he doesn't have any clue what 5,166 means, he's probably thinking right now, well, that probably means there's 5,166 of those little holes in each of those tiles on the ceiling, because that's where he was looking at. What's 5,166?
Premium pay, or not premium pay, but, their,
Is that the
semi
total?
pay, yeah.
Say,
Semi pay?
sort of. What's 5,000?
That's how much she pays.
That's how much she pays. Is that the total of all her insurance? No.
That's how much she pays.
That's how much she pays. We're trying to find how much the total insurance is, right? With what she pays and what the company pays, the employer pays. So we have that. Then the next thing we do is just like we did before. We want the total. Well, to get, usually we have the total and we multiply it by the percentage. What percentage does she pay this time?
40.
So change that to what?
0.4.
0.4, and you can put the 0 on there if you need to. And that equals 5,166. What are you gonna do to solve for t here?
Divide by 0.4.
And again, what should happen when you divide by a number with like 0.4?
It's gonna go
Should get a whole lot bigger. What's it come out to be?
$12,900.
12,900 and what?
15.
15? What's 12,915?
How much her total?
Is that how much she pays per year?
No, it's
It's how much that whole insurance plan costs per year. Alright, so $12,915. Again, just something real quick, then I'm gonna stop and you guys can finish it, and again, remember what you're gonna do next week. Every time that the association, the teachers association, goes into bargaining with the school, with the board and everybody else, one of the things that's on there every time is health insurance. And the board, again, I think the school pays 80% and we pay 20% or something. I can't remember if it's 70-30,
Oh, I
80-20. It's one of those. But every time we go in there, one of the things that the school wants to use as bargaining is they want to make this percentage, the percentage that the teachers pay, higher.
No.
All right? And then they say stuff like, okay, you know, we can give you a 5% raise
But that 5% raise is gonna go straight into.
if we can raise this up to 30% instead of 20% or something like that. Well, if we're looking at that, if it was 30%, let's just say we're this person here. They're raising it 10%. That's 10% of this right here. Well, 10% is gonna be how much?
1,200.
Somebody take that and multiply it by 0.1.
1,200.
$1,291.50. So let's say that I make $50,000 a year, just trying to make a round number here. And they say, Ebersole, we're gonna raise your pay 5%. Somebody help me out, what's 50,000 times 0.05?
$250.
They're gonna raise my pay, and this is a bad thing. They're gonna give me a raise of $250, but the part of the insurance that I pay went up almost $1,300. Does that make any sense?
Like, are you asking?
Even if it was 10%, if they said, we're gonna raise your salary 10%. Well, 5% was 250, what's 10%? Just double it, right? 500. Is 500 enough to make up for that?
No.
So you gotta make sure that when you're looking at this stuff, that you think things through. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Does that mean Noah's gotta grab his calculator all the time and do all this work? No, just think it through. Think, is this really sensible? When you get your check, make sure, especially a lot of the companies that you guys work for right now, do you really think that they care if they cheat you?
No.
Heck no, they don't care. All right, I know, I used to work for the nursery down the street here. Wow. I made sure I checked my check every week. Because being a private business like that, boy, they didn't have any problem with shorting me a couple hours here and there and not paying me the correct amount. Because it was their money, it was coming out of their pocket, so the more I made, the less they made. Now, when it comes that way and you're working for some private business like that, they don't have any problem with taking that extra money.